Hello YouTube, this is Christian coming to you this time with a review and kind of initial pack out for the 511 Moab 10 or Rush Moab 10, which is also a Slingpack. And this follows suit and follows directly after my review of the Maxpedition Gearslinger Sitka. They are quite similar bags really in terms of size, and they are both sling packs. Me in particular, I do have a liking for sling packs, mostly because of the fact that you really don't have to take them on to access the interior of the bag, which is a bit more pronounced with the Sitka, which I will show you in a few minutes where the differences lie between the Moab and the Sitka. But before we go into the details, the pros and cons of each individual style of sling pack, let's just go over the pack and over my current loadout. And I always have one of those hooks on here for my baseball cap or flag bearer cap. This one is from 511. I really love those, mostly because they don't have a cheap piece of plastic here at the back, but rather hook and loop rear end and enough space to put a morale patch on if you so desire. So that's a good thing. Now, one thing strikes straight away: it's a very military looking pack, and as far as I'm concerned, I don't mind it all too much. This is, however, even for me, a little bit on the edge, because there's hardly a square inch on that pack that isn't covered with Pel's webbing. So I do like and enjoy Pel's webbing. It's just super versatile. You can add little accessory pouches and hook things in as you need, and that is great. There is, however, a little bit of a threshold where I would say it's a bit overdone, and this is on the edge of that. Perhaps in more military usage I see more purpose in it, but of course that is not how I use the pack, and how I use the pack is pretty much in a standard EDC kind of way. So it's just a daily pack that I use to go to work and carry my essentials. And I just want to make use of some of the features that military packs or EDC packs with a bit of a military kind of bias to it. I like their functionality. This is perhaps a little bit more military than I actually like, just in terms of, okay, how much am I gonna put onto this pack, and so all that Pel's webbing here at the front, yeah, I can make use of some of the hooks, but it's a bit much, because I'm not going to pack out with big pouches on this. This is a light 18-liter pack, and I wouldn't plan on attaching 50 odd things to it. So, but your mileage might look different, so I appreciate that, and that's just my 2 cents. I think it's a little bit overloaded in terms of Pel's webbing. As far as execution is concerned, that's a 1050-1050D nylon, which is really exactly the way I like it. It's quite similar to the nylon that is used by Maxpedition, and it is really rugged. So there's no complaints there. You can also see, maybe if I bring it up a little bit, if you look at the stitching, especially the Pel's webbing, it is at least twice stitched, maybe even 3 times stitched over. So that is really rugged and gonna last. So there's no complaints there in terms of quality and execution of the stitching. I think the pack is just great. Now, you can see that they integrated into that Pel's webbing a loop section, and also up here integrated into the Pel's is a loop section for your little morale patches or flags or whatever you like to put on there. which is fine. It's a nice way of doing it without sacrificing pals functionality. Okay, so on top of that, you kind of have pals webbing on the side to attach any kind of accessory you see fit on the side, and also here on your actual shoulder strap they put a little bit on there. If you want to have a small drop pouch perhaps on that, then this is a way to do it. So on the other side it's the same thing. You can see in here strapped in this case, Maxpedition AGR bottle holder, which I'm very fond of. It serves me really well. So that is pretty much the exterior of the bag. Let's have a look at the top. The top is a relatively sturdy handle. It's not padded in any way, but they pretty much folded over the nylon strap and stitched it, and it's comfortable to hold, albeit it's not padded in any way. And right under that you have your pass-through for either electronics or in this case for a drink bladder. This pack is around 18 liters and it features a compartment for 1.5 liter drink bladders. So that's always appreciated, and it's a nice little feature to have, just in case you are not a fan of carrying bottles. So on the back side, this is your shoulder strap. So stitched into that, an integral part of that shoulder strap, if you like, is a communication pouch, I would call it. And this is maybe also a bit of a testament of how old this design already is. It must be 10, 12 or even 15 years that this bag came out in this particular configuration. And this speaks a little bit to it from my perspective, and this is because it's kind of a communication bag, maybe from a time where cell phones used to be much smaller and where they also had headphone jacks, because what they integrated into that quite neatly is a little pass-through here, and it comes out under that particular pouch, and you could quite easily run your headphones off the jack if you wanted to, or alternatively for military background I suppose a radio unit could fit into that and also run an earpiece all the way up. So then you have your actual shoulder strap, and that is padded rather nicely. There's nothing wrong with the padding on this one. There's no rubberized bit on that one, and there's no ventilation fabric being used here. That is just straight nylon, but it serves its purpose. It is padded enough to be kind of comfortable. And then you have individual pals webbing again. I'll talk about that. The pack doesn't come with a support strap, or I'm not sure if it's even called a sternum strap in a shoulder bag, but I heavily rely on that one, so I'll explain that one later. I do have a keeper on here from Maxpedition because I like to hook in my keys. If I quickly need to put them somewhere, I always have a place to put them. And then down there is your point for latching in the bottom of it, and that then forms the sling bit of this particular bag. On the positive side on that is an ambidextrous design, so it can be used as a right shoulder or as a left shoulder bag. So depending which side you want to use, you can tuck the other side away under this pass-through here, and the other side pretty much is out of the way if you don't use it. Here at the bottom they do have two rubberized patches that are supposed to stop the bag from swinging too much and give it a little bit of friction on your bag, on its resting place, but quite frankly these hardly touch my bag when I'm wearing that bag, and so this patch might have been better a little bit further up and a little bit wider, but it's there, it's a nice touch, so that's alright. Then at the bottom of the unit we do have an additional compression strap, and that is actually at the right spot as opposed to the Maxpedition where it runs all the way across the front of the bag. This is really just at the bottom of the bag, and I like that. It's out of the way for most things, and it's there if you actually need it, and also offers some protection. If you put the bag down, then it will ride on these nylon straps, which are far easier to replace once they're worn through than the actual fabric. Then you got your little train hole or breather hole down there, which is also always a good thing. Carrying on to the front of the bag, one thing they do differently in comparison also to Maxpedition is they offer a soon-on protection for your zippers. So you can see that the zipper is actually hiding under this area here, and then you have the actual zipper exposed. Now this is usually done as dust protection and also to prevent light rain to pass through the zipper. This is one way of doing it. If you look at the way Maxpedition does it by comparison, you can see they're just using a reverse sewn-in zipper, which kind of provides a similar functionality. However, it keeps your zippers nice and accessible, whereas this kind of weather protection here sometimes interferes a little bit with operating your zippers and finding your zippers, and so you kind of have to sometimes expose that, fold it back over in order to get your zipper properly around the corner. It can be a little bit tricky to get them around, mostly because you have your little zipper pull not sitting, you can't really access it straight, so around here it always gets a little bit, you can see how you're compressing the material if you try to do it like that. So really the proper way to do it is to get it out of the way first, and then your zipper runs nicely. It's a different philosophy, a different way of doing things, but it also speaks to the purpose of the pack, where perhaps frequent access like you would see in an EDC pack isn't as much of a priority as ruggedness and protection of the zipper. I personally enjoy the reverse sewn zipper a little bit more for its accessibility, and I'm not too worried because I'm not gonna expose it to the elements as much as perhaps somebody who's operating this with a military background. But okay, so far so good. Now there's also two compression straps on the side that allow you to cinch the pack down a little bit when you feel it's a little bit too bulky, and that's also always appreciated. It's nice that it's there and it's not too much in the way, so that's good. So when you open the pack, the first thing here is your admin pouch, and at first I wasn't quite sure if I was going to like this for a number of reasons, but as it turns out it kind of works. It kind of works for me. And the reason is that these two, initially I wasn't quite sure. I mean, these are magazine pouches most likely, so in a civilian EDC environment I'm not carrying two AR-15 magazines around, but it happens to be that the micro pouch from Maxpedition, and in this case this would just be my charging cable pouch, just fits perfectly in here, and that is really working for me. I like that. So these two, I've got another micro pouch that I'm probably going to equip with other bits and pieces that is going to live in here, and then these two compartments that otherwise I would have struggled with really are purposeful, and I like it. And the big thing about it too is if you just put something loose in here, as you open the pack up, stuff just slides out of these. So that is not ideal. If you stand up the pack, you can see that's not ideal. But these micro pouches from Maxpedition, they have enough friction in here to not be just falling out. So this is a combination that, much to my surprise, turns these two into some useful compartments for me. As far as everything else in here is concerned, these are rather thin but useful pockets. There's hardly any volume to it. I just have my screwdriver set in here, a pen, and that's just an additional fastening for the pels webbing. You've got two keepers in here. I always have a little bit of alcohol in here, and then my much loved sealskin gloves. These are absolutely awesome. They are absolutely waterproof and they're really, really warm. I love those, and I always have those in my pack. And other than that, there's one zipper pouch left, but also this pouch doesn't provide an awful lot of volume. All of these are really quite flat pack, so they're for flat items mostly. Yep. In here it's just my Sony headphones too. So that pretty much covers off this compartment. Now you can see straight away that this front compartment is really designed to be used with the pack standing up. So as opposed to what Maxpedition or Vanquest does with their packs, the big difference here being that 511 thinks you're going to take this back off your shoulder if you want to have access to these individual items, because let's just think about the other scenario. If you would put it on the side and sling it around to your chest area where it would sit, accessing these items with all the vertical patches, vertical pockets in here becomes really a little bit cumbersome. So this is just a different approach in terms of how the designer thought this pack would be used. All right, and they're thinking, okay, you're going to stand it up, and that mitigates one of the big advantages of a Slingpack for me. Because for me, with a Slingpack, and the reason why I love them so much is I can keep them on my shoulder. I just rotate them around on my body, which brings the pack horizontally in front of me into my chest area, and then opening up the side of it just allows me to access the contents, right? This is not designed in such a way, at least not for the admin pouch. So this is just, you know, it's nothing, no right or wrong way of doing it, obviously, but it is something that I think is worth pointing out. This pocket is designed for stand up or lay down access only. So going further, hold on, almost forgot. Another feature that some of our American friends might enjoy, or I personally enjoy this particular compartment as well, is you've got your concealed carry pouch around here, which is lined with a Velcro patch here deep on the inside. Now this is a particularly useful place to put a pouch on, I think. That is, you can quite easily have an or fast access item in here. Doesn't necessarily have to be a firearm, a pistol or such, but you can put something long in here, like a small shovel or something that, you know, sticks out that far. Just gives you a little bit of versatility in terms of putting items in there. Other things would fit here in here as well. There's one thing to watch out for, however. That is, once again, this is a pocket with little volume, and that just means it doesn't have any inbuilt height. So my concern in terms of as a concealed carry compartment would be if you really load out this pack and you go full Monty on what you put inside, then this becomes a really cramped pocket. And I could quite easily imagine that if you try to put, I don't know, a 226 or Beretta 92, which would be a regular sized firearm, in there, that you could quite easily have trouble getting it out quick. So if that was something you would be relying on, I'm not entirely certain this is an ideal design. mostly because if you pack the peg, there's no volume here. There's just everything is going to compress against the internals of this, and then this pocket is getting really, really tight. So that's that pocket, but it's a great design. I love the way they've done it, and it's not necessarily only for firearm usage, and so I like that. So in here, that's my clean Canteen steel bottle. I like to use those over plastic, mostly because of the taste, but also environmental concerns. And as pointed out, I really love the Maxpedition stuff for that. These are great. They're relatively flat, and in this case, because this one wanders between individual packs, I have them on molly sticks, which are these little fellas, and it's quite easy to just pull those sticks out, and you got rid of your molly attachment. And so something I really recommend for all of you guys out there who use pels webbing a lot, these things from Vanquist, they're awesome. They have no reason not to put stuff on, and if you need to get something off your peg because you need it somewhere else, you won't think about it twice, because it's not a big drama to get stuff on and off. So they're not too expensive either. You can get them in pack of 6, I believe, and they're awesome. They beat every other system of attaching pels components, so that's a big plus. Always have some of those around if you're having a backpack with pels webbing or molly attachments. Okay, now the next thing on top here, there's another small compartment. I just keep my glasses in here, mostly because that is felt lined, so that is nice and soft, and is exactly what I want, where I want it. Just a compartment. If you want to put your phone in there, a regular iPhone 14 or something along these lines would fit in there quite nicely. There's no issues with that whatsoever. There's another compartment, and that is the last one on the outside, and this is really your drink bladder compartment, which has a pass-through into the inside of the pack there, and a little hanger for your bladder, and then it would come out on the other side up here and out of the pack. So that's all dandy, that's all fine. And also there's a bit of reinforcing plastic in here that offers a little bit of stiffness to the pack. You don't like it, you can always take it out. And if you don't put a platter in here, there's a little bit of space to put items in here, albeit down here at the bottom it gets really, really tight. So it's not a notebook compartment or anything along these lines, which would have made sense if it was a little bit wider. But you could put perhaps an iPad in there, and that would work rather well. So that's this one there. And now we progress into the big compartment. And once again, this is a clamshell design. So they open up almost all the way to the bottom, and I'm just going to switch it to the other orientation for the purpose of this. And here's your interior. So what I usually have in here is a tri-pack. So just one of those sealable tri-packs. They're very lightweight. They're a great way to expand your volume on EDC carry if you have to. They take next to no space, weigh next to nothing. And if you're like me and you carry a first aid kit, these always go together. And the reason is you're in a flooding zone, or you get a natural disaster, your entire first aid kit, your electronics are absolutely worthless if you can't protect them watertight from the elements. And you want a first aid kit in your pack that can withstand the elements. And so those two, for me, always belong together in an EDC pack. So that's that. We put those out of the way. Then I've got, because I'm using that for biking, I've got a little bike pouch here, which is just my tire levers, a torque wrench, some standard tools, a chain snapper, and pretty much a tubeless repair kit. So that's always in my pack when I go out with the bike. That's in there, and this is just my standard EDC pouch, the preferred one for me at the moment that I've been using all the time has been the Vanquest Personal Slim Organizer, and this is just a great little EDC pack, and I can't see me changing to anything else at the moment. So this is this compartment. This is your sunglass compartment, and this down here is just a cinch down pouch, and on the other side you have your Slingpack functionality, if you like. So in this particular case it is accessible from both sides because the pack is ambidextrous. So down there, that's just a flat pack pocket. Once again, there's not an awful lot of volume in that one. And then you have these Velcro see-through, semi-see-through webbings, and they are really accessible from both sides. And the reasoning behind that is that if you have this particular bag in front of you, slung around in front of your body, be it on the left or on the right side, then those compartments there become accessible for organizational items. Right, and it doesn't matter from which side you want to access these, they are accessible this way. Which brings me to the downside of this, which is the big compartment down there. Once again, once you have something put in here, you cannot really make much of it in the slung around position. So you then have to rely on putting that flat down and put all your items on top of it if you want to get them out sideways. Otherwise it just won't work as well. So this is just a different way of doing things, and personally I don't mind too much. I do have a clear preference, however, for the way that Maxpedition does it. And I'm just going to show you here in direct comparison, for what that means and what their approach is. You can see that with Maxpedition, their pack is actually designed in such a way that they want you and encourage you to use it as a sling around the body bag, because that is the orientation you would have it once you sling it around just right in front of you. And you can see they're adding volume into this particular pouch. And they're adding a little bit of volume into that, but all of that is pretty much available to you to pretty much stash your items this way. And also, just by virtue of the zipper configuration, you can see it doesn't open all the way there. It really just goes up to here, and then on the other side it stops short of being a full clamshell. And the reason is that they really want you to use it as a sling bag to use in front of your body. You can see it also here in that particular pocket. Everything is arranged and lined up to be accessible from this side, and I love that feature a lot. Okay, so this is something you want to consider, and that's a bit of a philosophy or carryology question, if you like. And I would say there's no wrong and right way, but what I personally enjoy is just, you know, if you're out there, it's a bit wet, it's a bit muddy perhaps, you don't necessarily want to put that back down and into the mud. I don't, because I know I have to clean it afterwards. So if I keep it on the shoulder, and that's the big thing about a sling pack, you can do that. You keep it on the shoulder and you can access it all without putting it down, then you'll save yourself all the cleaning and all the mess. And your pack will last a lot longer too. So for me, that philosophy makes a lot of sense. Also, you know, if you have a backpack, if you're a backpack wearer, then you know you have to take down your backpack and you've got to put it somewhere, and then you got to open it up, and quite often, depending on the way you packed it, stuff falls out, and you're having all that to deal with. With a sling pack, sling it in front of your body, have it accessible, no taking it down, you're done, you zip it up, you sling it back onto your bag, and you're ready to go again. And I really love that. There's a downside, and the downside of course is, hey, it's a sling pack, so you have all the weight on just one shoulder. And that brings up another point, which is the shoulder strap. Ambidextrous versus, in this case, decide before you buy. And you can see clearly the difference is that if you decide before you buy, you get the advantage of having an ergonomically designed curvature in your sling, and you also have the advantage that the starting point of your sling is slightly offset to the other side, which makes a big difference in how ergonomically this sling pack will ride on your back. And there's no doubt in my mind, after carrying both of these, that Maxpedition has a clear edge in terms of pure comfort, just by virtue of the fact that this is completely contoured and is actually offset from the center of the pack, right? So that's a big plus. This one, not nearly as comfortable, but it just doesn't ride, it just doesn't settle into a comfortable point for me. It might be different for you, but for me it's just not working quite as well. On the positive side, with the ambidextrous design, is if you start to develop pain on one shoulder, there's nothing stopping you to put that one away, get the other one out, change over to the other shoulder and carry it on the other shoulder for a little while. So you can do a little bit of load balancing if you're running into issues, and if your bag for whatever reason is loaded out so much that it actually causes you physical pain, then yeah, you can kind of change the side to carry it, which would not be possible to do on the Maxpedition. But my view on this is that if I go with a pack like this is EDC carry items, it's not overly heavy, it's going to be 10, 15, maybe 20 kg max, and only for shorter distances. If you plan to do a hiking trip, you wouldn't pick one of those pegs. You want more volume, you want lighter materials more likely, and you want a proper support system where the weight is sitting on your hip. So it's not like, you know, you need to consider huge amounts of weight in these. But there is a distinct difference in comfort, with that being far more comfortable to start with. Another thing that is worth pointing out is that Maxpedition includes this sternum or control strap, which is great because it allows you to get one arm and one shoulder under your pack, and you can carry it like that if you want to, and then if you have to and you want to secure it and cinch it down and get it into more comfortable, you latch the main sling. And likewise, if you want to take it off, you open that up, and then you pretty much, by virtue of that triangle configuration, you are in a position where you can have it on one side just like a regular backpack, and it's quite easy to take it off and on. That is one shortcoming because on the Moab, because it doesn't come with this kind of sling sternum strap. This is their tier system, which is really two straps that are designed to hold the bag on, let's say, a Rush 48 or Rush 72, where you can piggyback this one on top of a bigger bag, and you can use it to kind of stack your items for transport or whatever reason you might have to do that. But what I did here, and it's actually quite a neat trick, is you can use those and combine two together to create your little sternum strap configuration, and therefore regain the functionality of being able to just go through with one arm like on a regular backpack, and you can put that wherever you see fit. It's freely adjustable by virtue of the Pelz webbing, and can have the same functionality. If you didn't have that, it would be a real deal breaker for me, and the reason is that you've got two choices, and one is to actually hold the backpack or the sling pack like that, put it over your shoulder, and if it's a little bit heavier loaded, you hold on to that and then you fumble in your clip down there. And the other option is to just put it in like that and then move it over your head, just like so, and put it over your back that way. And both ways are not really something that I would enjoy. So I like the convenience of having this strap there, and this is just great because I can always, if I want to lose a bag, I open the main one and then just have it hanging over one shoulder and take it off whenever I like. And so this is really the way to go for me. This strap is really an important functional element of a sling pack, and also it keeps it relatively secure on your back without moving around too much. And if you want to bring the back around to your front, you want to bring it around onto your chest area, you just open this one up and let that fall away, and then your back can freely rotate around your body to where you need it. So that's it. Great way of improvising the sternum strap. Right? The last pocket we haven't talked about is that one up there, and currently this is just my pocket for the little light and the light accessories. That's a all-light Perum, which is a great little light, and you can see inside that pocket there's a little bit of a, let's take that out, there's a rubber band retainer in there, and that's where my flashlight lives for this particular bag. Now, one thing of note in regards to that pouch is when that sling pack rides on your back, that pouch actually is on your backside. So it's not very accessible up there, up behind your shoulder. I'm not entirely sure. I mean, in a military scenario where that perhaps contains a radio and your earpiece comes out of here, that makes a lot of sense maybe. But for EDC use, I think this is just wrong placement. A pack like that or a pouch like that, you really want to have it down here somewhere where you would be able to access it on your chest. Rather than anything else, because it's useful. You've got small little easy access items in there, but if you want to get to them, you actually have to take the back down again or swivel it around, whereas this area here is ideal. I mean, you can always go and put a small EDC pouch on there, which would work, but then you would have to get rid of that clip there or find another solution to make a sternum strap. So in terms of usability, I think there's pros and cons depending on the way you like to use bags or sling packs. I think I have a clear preference, and this is not going to replace my Maxpedition Sitka. I'm looking at the Vanquish Javelin as the next candidate for a comparison, because it's kind of the same size and similar concept, but a little bit closer to the Maxpedition Sitka in terms of usage. In terms of price, I think these are significantly cheaper if you buy them as a single item. I think they run around $90 or thereabouts, and can probably get them much cheaper on a sale. So for that kind of money, it's certainly a worthwhile purchase. If I didn't know the Maxpedition, this would be my go-to pack, but for EDC, I have to say I'm more than happy to fork out a little bit more for the Maxpedition Sitka. And you can see also both packs side by side. There's a clear personal opinion here, but this looks more military to me. This is a little bit more subdued, and there's a number of features that I just plain like a little bit better. So this pack I think is 160 or 150 US dollars, so it's a fair bit dearer. But if you go to the Maxpedition website and you wait for the BOGO sale, buy one, get another one. So that splits the price in half if you know, have somebody else who might be interested in it. I don't know. For that kind of money, I would, at any rate, take the Maxpedition over the 511, that's for certain. This is by no means of saying it's a bad pack. No, the opposite is the case. But in direct comparison and the way I use it for EDC, it's the other one. Military users will probably appreciate this kind of design more, but I'm not. And so my opinion is just reflecting this one. Okay. Well, I hope you enjoyed the review and I hope you found it helpful. Any questions? Place them in the comments, and if you want to have a look at my previous Sitka review, then it is the previous video on my channel. And yeah, you all have a good weekend, and I hope to see you next week. Alright, see ya, bye bye.